What do you know? Hi, Kristen Ratan. I'm with PLOS. So I guess I'm representing the publisher voice here, but having spent a long time working on publishing platforms, I've spent a lot more of my career actually helping to create the user experience that our esteemed scholarly readers get to enjoy today. So as I was thinking about what a user experience is like in the scholarly realm, I think useful is probably the key word. And I tend to agree with Melinda that we've not done the best job of that for various different reasons. I've done a lot of, what? Yeah, there we go. So I've done a lot of user research over the years, and I've worked with others who have done it. And when you ask scholarly users what they want from a user experience, they basically say none. I don't really want a user experience. I just want the PDF. Give me the PDF, and then get out of my way. And why is that? Why is it that they want the PDF so much? It's a portable document format. It's portable as in I want to take it with me, and it's easy to do. It's complete in the sense that I can have it all in one place. It's quick and simple. It's uncluttered. It's easy to find. I know where to look for things. It looks the same pretty much across every journal. It's reliable. I can have it offline, I can print it out, I can use it over and over again, and if the internet goes away, I'll still have it on my hard drive. So actually, these are pretty important reasons. This is what scholars actually need. And what we've given them, and what we've invested a lot of time and energy into, is HTML. And is it portable? Not so much. Is it complete? Well, kind of, but if you've ever tried to download a full page, you get all kinds of bizarre things in there that don't know what they are, and the files aren't easy to match up or print out. And simple? No. In fact, I was talking to a researcher recently and about journal websites, and he said, I just can't stand all of these things in the way of me getting to the PDF. Back to that. And is it reliable? Not always. And the internet does sometimes go down, or I'm on a train, or I'm on an airplane, or what have you. So, we feel we've enriched the article with the HTML presentation, but still our users are telling us that that experience is not ideal. So being clear and being useful, I think, are the watchwords. Our users tell us over and over again, I want something that with clarity. I want to get to the information that I need. The information is contained inside of the article. And I want the article, the data, the information, the text to be as useful as possible. So what does making it clear mean? Definitely that white space thing is true. That the less clutter, presenting only the most useful features and functions. John Sack at Highwire likes to call the journal website something like a Swiss Army knife with all of the blades and the corkscrew and everything out. And it does feel a little that way. We've kind of given them everything, and we don't ever seem to be able to take anything back. And then the other thing is tracking that. One of the things we're doing at PLOS is trying to get very granular with our analytics so we actually can see not only which features are being used, but how, when, by whom, in what context. So that we can do a continuous innovation process where we're constantly tweaking and honing that. And we're just building that into our resources and our framework just so that we will have that kind of constant tracking. So since I think I've actually been a party to some of the greater atrocities in user experience design over the years, and you can tell from my slides, compared to the last two speakers' slides, that that's not really my forte, I thought I should ask somebody who actually knows something about this. So meet Sebastian. Sebastian works for me, and his title is actually User Experience Engineer. So I thought that was really handy. And Sebastian is also a surfer in California, so he's got sort of this Zen-like approach to things, which is really calming, actually, around the office. So I asked Sebastian to, and also because I was in a hurry, to provide me with a number of slides with good interface design and bad interface design and tell me what he thought about them. So this is one actually we were using around the office quite a bit, the new Forbes design. I think it is. It's quite clean and clear, but they've also done a really thing. They're focusing very clearly on the people involved in the creation of the content and in the stories. It's very person-centric, and I think that's an interesting approach. I think it's one that we should probably learn from. But you can also see there's just simple navigation. The social media bookmarks, they've isolated it to just a few instead of, I think we've got like 50 or something. I don't know what we're thinking. And it's spaced nicely, a lot of white space. So Sebastian says, thumbs up. He likes this one. The Forbes article, when you go down to the article page, also clean and clear. Left-hand area is just used for the social media. The article information is well above the fold. There's not a lot of excess branding and everything else. So once again, Sebastian says, thumbs up, nice uniformity of right-hand column, like highlighting of authors. The other thing that he pointed out to me, which I think is great, PLOS has a real interest in article-level metrics and metrics in general. And so not only do they have the social media buttons along the left, they give you the numbers and the counts there, which is really nice. And then also, along the right over there, the recommended reading list. I don't know how visible it is, but there's a bar that goes across that indicates how many times each one's been viewed. So there's a visual representation of how many views each of these recommended articles has. I just thought that it's a beautiful design. One I wouldn't notice, but Sebastian pointed it out to me, so I'm once again, grateful. New York Times skimmer, Sebastian says, absolutely, thumbs up, clean, focused on reading, tablet-like UI. This is becoming a popular way to describe user experience. It's like a tablet, which tells you something. People like that lean-back reading experience, that feeling that they get reading a tablet. It's a little bit closer to sitting back with a newspaper on a Sunday morning. LA Times, Sebastian says, not so much. It's too close to print. They've stuck to the print. You can't really tell. Obviously, this is a screenshot, but that Book of Mormon ad flashes, and that distracts the eye. And then all of the layers of navigation. You don't really know where to go for navigation. I think there are 4 different layers of navigation there. Very unclear. The New York Times, designed by Andy Rutledge, who Sebastian knows and I don't, but he definitely says, thumbs up, typography's lovely, a lot of white space, again, the tablet-like reading experience. CNN versus the New York Times. So we're talking a lot about collections, as I'm sure some of you are. How do you collect content in useful and meaningful ways? And so he gave me a couple of examples of collections, CNN versus New York Times. And we've got a split here. Sebastian says, one up, one down. On the CNN, the topic blocks, he says, are clean, they're scannable. It's really easy to know what you're looking for. I'm either interested in entertainment or business, etc. On the right, the topics are less so. It's clumsy. The pictures, he pointed out to me, and again, something I wouldn't have thought of. Pictures are usually good, right? Well, these are meaningless pictures. They're actually thumbnails that don't confer any meaning or context about the article. They're just there to have pictures. And so they add visual clutter. Byliner, he likes that. I think it's a little bright, but once again, I don't surf. Thumbs up, nice typography, good white space. Left-hand nav on this one, and it's clean. There's a clean widget. Simple, highly functional. So that, again, that uncluttered. If you can tell, the recommended reading list there on the left, and it has the 3 buttons up on the top, very clear. You can flip through those. Thumbs up on this one. Again, typography. Apparently that's important. Information hierarchy is well done, and a very clever and clean navigational functionality there. So you can see really along the bottom there. I think one of the things that I noticed about all of these are all content-driven sites, is they're not trying to tell you everything at once. They really aren't. There's a selection process here that I think it's difficult when you're in the editorial realm not to want to present everything. So on the scholarly side, what can we learn from this? The most important thing, I think, for us to do is to remove the barriers between the reader and what they want, the information. So we add a lot of information. I think most journal sites have layers at the top of the page of ads and branding and navigation, and it pushes everything down. And then we've got columns, sometimes on the left and the right, sometimes on just the right, sometimes just the left, but it squeezes the actual article down to a very small place. And obviously, that is what they're there for. And the temptation to just grab the PDF and run, I think, is pretty overwhelming in these cases. So we need to be more helpful. We need to help them save time. I went to an STM Innovations presentation years ago, and Alan Rainier, who's a researcher, he likes to heckle the publishing industry. Have you ever seen him speak? He's rude, but it's accurate. And he said, conducting research for me, it's like a video game, and I'm going through and I'm getting things and I'm shooting things and then I have to visit a publisher's website and it's bang, -2 points. Every time. So I do everything I can, he said, to avoid your websites. And I thought that was really telling. We should try to decrease the friction that's involved in getting to the content. So be clear, be useful. What does being useful mean? I think in our context, the completeness of the information is really important. We tend to strip some information out or make it less accessible as part of the publishing process. So collecting all of that information from the author, data, assumptions, null results, etc., is really important. And then making the content portable and granular. And I think that interoperability concept is really critical too, making sure that people can use that information in the context that they need it. So here's an example of a more function-oriented interface, Simpla admin, and it's just clean and clear, and you can yank out what you need, as opposed to, say, this. I don't think I need to say any more on that. This web design firm that we're working with currently designed this, and they showed it to us. It's a form for ordering flowers, and they said it's their goal to actually eradicate all drop-down menus from the face of the earth. They present things in a very clear way, but there's a lot of function behind that. It's very complex functionality happening there with scheduling things and all sorts of widgets on the back end. So what goes into our content? Our content is filled with all kinds of really complex pieces of information and data, and these are not necessarily the easiest things to collect up and present. And all of that flows, this is my high-tech graphic here, into the article, and we package that up. The PDF version of it actually doesn't contain a huge quantity of that, and we really do want them to use the richer, more useful information in the XML to HTML version. But we don't always make that as usable as we could. So one of the things that I'm interested in now is how we can deconstruct what we've built with the article and actually make it more portable and more granular for researchers to use, so they can actually get at the people involved, the authors, and information about them, and the data, the protocols, all sorts of information that's sort of locked away at the moment. And so how we actually compose and tag all of these bits and pieces that go into the article is really important. One thing that we're doing right now is we're creating a new figure handling approach. PLOS has a pretty limited, really, figure display on its articles right now. So we're changing that. And in the doing of that, we've decided to add a lot more figure-level metadata. So I think Donald actually mentioned, if you snip something like an image, it could tell you a little bit of information about the image, the copyright information, the device perhaps that snapped the photo or something like that. And in a lot of cases, we strip away some of that, that information, that metadata that's actually inherent in the figure. And then what we want to do is be able to make sure that we keep that information, but then also add figure metadata and article level metadata, so that if somebody does grab that image and goes with it, there's a whole lot of intelligence behind that can make that information far more useful. And I think the same could be done, really, with actual text and other things. If we had web-wide tools like the ones you're mentioning, snip and clip, and people were using those across every website, then there would be more consistency in the ways that that information could be portable. I think the other side of this, providing a better experience for our users, is really, we just don't know them very well yet. I think publishing by its nature, I think because most publishers sell subscriptions, and they do that through the library, and the library is therefore the customer, hasn't given us the opportunity to get to know our users that well. It's just as bad in the open access land because we ask for nothing from them, including registration or anything else. It's actually a plus we know even less about our users. It's all we have is aggregate data, and it's pretty difficult to do anything really clever when you don't know a lot about your users. But I think if we can get better at doing, at mining the data that we do have and providing opportunities for users to engage with us and therefore identify themselves on our sites, we can create a more intelligent experience for them, one that actually automatically kind of shapes itself based on their behavior. And we're not even taking advantage, for example, of some of the very straightforward things being done out there in retail land, which is, if you're looking for a pair of cowboy boots on one site, suddenly cowboy boot ads appear on every other site. We could do that. Not with cowboy boots, but, with really important information and data. So I think we can begin to investigate those a little more deeply than we are now. And then once the content is actually published and out there, Melinda talked about engagement. I think it's been one of the bigger challenges in scholarly communication. I think mostly because scholars don't really like to actually engage that much. They're not necessarily the first people to adopt new, say, social media trends and whatnot. But they do care about the information, and they do care about collaboration. And in recent user research that we did, they said things like, I'm not interested in any kind of social media. I'm not interested in any of this sharing stuff, all that other. I'm not doing any of that. But when we asked what they really wanted to do, they wanted to communicate more with other researchers. And when we asked them, do you want to have some kind of a profile? Are you interested in social networking? Absolutely not. I don't want any of that. Not another place to put all my information. But when you ask, would you like there to be a bio next to your name on the article? Oh yeah, that sounds good. That's a profile. So I think we have an opportunity to offer ways for them to engage if we just present it to them, what are the benefits, and make those clear to them. On the BMJ site, one of the few publishers I know of that has actually gotten a huge amount of engagement in their electronic letter to the editor function called Rapid Responses. They've had a lot of back and forth on this, and it's really, really well executed. I'm really hoping to be able to copy from them someday. What's interesting is they've got the metrics there on all of the responses, and once again, quite interested in metrics. F1000 has been trying to gather user engagement, and they've gotten a fair amount too, and they're using a lot of metrics there, which really kind of leads you to realize the engagement is happening across the web. The engagement is happening all the time. People are voting with their clicks, they're moving around through your sites, and they're leaving a trail, and all of that is being collected in the data that we have. We're just not really using it. So even if they're not explicitly commenting or acting on the content or sharing it or what have you, they are operating with it, and we could understand them if we delve into those metrics a little bit more effectively. So those metrics provide context. We have an article level metric program at PLOS where we're trying to collect that information, and we've recently added a box to sort of elucidate that on the article page. And we're gathering more and more data channels to see what activities people are doing with various different social media sites and blogs and other kinds of networks. And then trying to also feed some of the activity that's happening, say, in Twitter back out onto the article page. And then we have a metrics tab that delves in a little bit more detail with all of that. And I think that we have an opportunity to provide a much deeper user experience the more that we can understand our users and give them the context as well about how other people are using the same information. So a good user experience should lead to attention, and I think that attention is actually the most important currency right now on the web, and it's probably the hardest to come by. So I do believe that a good user experience is critical, something we absolutely have to work on and have done very little so far in that area. And I will just leave you with that slightly depressing note. Okay, thank you.